Hello and welcome back to Filmfaker's Commentary with your friends from Superliminal Films. This episode, we are going to do a very special sequence. At least it's special for two of the three people you have here. Very special for us, at least. Special for two reasons. One, Dan is back. I'm Dan. Hi, Dan. And two, Jared and I love Star Wars.
That's me.
Huge Star Wars fans. Max loves Star Wars too, and he's here as well. But
Hi.
Jared and I are known for our love of Star Wars, among other things. And we're going to do a Star Wars scene for the first time on this podcast. Podcast? Show. Show. It's a show.
Pod show. Also,
Pod
fun
show.
fact, this was Max's suggestion.
I mean, Max liked it a Star Wars too, but Max don't like it a Star Wars the way you and I like it a Star Wars.
I'd also like to preface this by saying we may not be your friends at Superliminal Films after this one.
You know, I have thoughts. This also may run long if you and I get into an argument.
Hey, we'll talk about it. That's the fun. We don't know what we're going to say.
That's the fun. We go into all these things. Very
Unscripted.
planned.
Jared,
Very seat
edit
of the
in,
pants.
edit in Bill O'Reilly saying, fuck it, we'll do it live.
I'll work on that.
Jared, avoid Bill O'Reilly at all costs.
I'll work on that too.
So we've got this queued up in the Jared fashion of Netflix. 22 minutes, 27 seconds from the end of the Netflix roll. As we go, this is the sequence where Luke confronts Kylo Ren on the salt plain, and they have a fight whilst everyone else is given time to escape. Jared, roll that beautiful bean footage.
We are rolling now.
So, I really like this scene. I thought it was an awesome way to end the arc of Luke Skywalker. I thought it was a killer job. I thought that Johnson knocked it out of the park with this way to round out such a character that's so pivotal to the Star Wars universe.
I think Ultimate Sacrifice is the most Jedi thing Luke did, other than shutting down a Jedi school. Also, the scar work on Kylo Ren looks great.
It does.
That looks like some naturally puckered scar.
Jared, what do you think?
No, I definitely agree. It looks good on the scarring. And I really like what they did with Luke in this movie.
Also, the choice of a red salt for the landscape is fantastic,
It lets them do blood without blood.
among other things.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Driver kills it in this sequence.
No, he doesn't.
I mean,
Basically, whenever Adam Driver is allowed to be upset, he does really, really well.
he is very good with using his body.
Mm-hmm.
Like all parts of it, his facial expressions, his whole body becomes this big tool for him to emote with, which usually you only see in suit actors, and I think he has a really impressive command of his physicality.
He's also extremely emotionally expressive, especially for someone who spent an early career as a Marine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Also, the composition of that shot into this with him walking out of the red is so good.
That's beautiful.
It's just like, nope, buddy, I'm still here.
Not even dust in my hair.
Yeah, it's
looks
just
so good.
brushing off the shoulders.
I mean, we finally get to see badass Luke, right? We get to see badass Luke for exactly the second time. The first time is badass Luke when he walks into Jabba's palace for like a minute and 12 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Then poor Huck's always getting thrown around.
Yep.
And wonderful job of everybody else for really selling how important this moment is.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when they're all tucked behind everything, and the score, and just everything is very... You can feel the tension so thick you can cut it with a knife.
Totally agree. But yeah, I know a lot of people did not care for this character arc for Luke. And so if you didn't, please, in the comments, let us
Fuck
know
yourself.
what you didn't think. I wouldn't go that far, but let us know what you think. Don't be one of the Star Wars fans, man. Don't be one of them. But let us know what you feel a better idea would have been below, because I'd love to hear what it is, because I think my opinion, and anybody else who's on this recording with us, feel free to jump in. I feel like Luke, the reason you like Luke so much, if you like Luke, is because he's a fucking failure. He fails at every single thing he tries to do. Just like a normal person, right? We try a lot of shit and we fail at it. He does that. there's only a couple times he really succeeds, and it's when he puts his heart and like mind into it the most, right? When he's most aligned with what a Jedi is and what they stand for. So I really think that him going out like this is a near perfect, and not just because a character dies, it always makes it a more kind of, more gravitas behind it, but I think that he is so prone to failure that when he succeeds, because he truly has his heart in the right place, that it's perfect. And I think that this is really the moment where he becomes like all that lines up. The same with when he converts Darth Vader. His heart is more important. Like, he truly is a really good person at his core, just like the average viewer who's watching this. And I think that's what makes Luke so relatable. And I think for him to go out on a limb and be like, I really do mean for all of this. Like, I understand how all this works, and I understand how negative and awful the Force kind of is, but I understand that I need to do this to make sure that all of this balance is achieved and all this can continue, is really impressive.
Well, it's not that the Force is negative and awful. It's that
it's cold and callous.
Yeah, well, it's not even callous. It's balanced, right? There is light and there is dark, and the problem comes in once beings, because it's not just people who are Force sensitive. Once beings are influencing people's understanding of the balance, or trying to swing the balance in one direction or the other. Because balance is balance. Balance is neutral. It's not negative or positive. But when you have people acting in either direction, they're acting out of selfishness and out of porgs, and it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you can't be upset with the Force, but the Jedi are just as bad as the Sith, in that they're trying to unbalance something that is naturally balanced.
Yep.
And the Sith have to exist because the Jedi exist. And that's like Luke's whole point in this movie, is if all of this went away and we just let the Force be the Force, there wouldn't be a dark side or light side to worry about. It would just exist in harmonious balance.
Yeah, it's very true. That's why one of the big things from the expanded universe that isn't really touched on in any of the canon now is the Grey Jedi.
Yep.
The ones that act on behalf of the Force more than the light or the dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was always
Also,
a neat thing.
It is. The Grey Jedi were fantastic, and I was really hoping they'd get brought in. The point that we were talking about earlier, Max, that didn't make it onto, or that hasn't made it into the recording yet, the fighting style.
Yes.
Kylo's is based on a misunderstanding of late medieval European swordplay.
Nice.
Because you can see the way he swings and the way he does two-handed. It looks very like you could put him in Game of Thrones without a laser sword and it would fit in.
Mm-hmm.
To some of the swordplay they do there, because people think that swords were incredibly heavy and plodding, and that swinging with two hands was more powerful, and that's everything he's doing. It's also the style, and I realized this while I was reading an article, of someone who was not properly trained.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is raw, emotive, like, rah!
Swinging from the shoulder for stronger.
Yeah. Thank you, Mal. And that's what they actually had David Prowse do. Because they were like, we're imagining these to be very heavy, even though it's a lightsaber. It's, very powerful, so it weighs a lot in your arms, so you have to use two hands and go very slow and methodical.
Well, then how come she can hold up rocks with one hand, Jared?
Because rocks are differently shaped.
Rocks to the chest.
If it was a cylindrical rock, she could not pick it up like that.
Oh, got it. Is that some kind of a phallic reference, Jared?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think
it is what you want it to be.
It's everything is. I mean, you see that Luke's plan pays off here, right? This is the moment. Like, you've been waiting the whole movie for this, for them to meet back up, and you see it, like, it's just like, it's cut so well, and everything's really nicely edited. I mean, as Dan pointed out earlier, the compositions are great, the acting is on point. I mean, I just think Rian Johnson came in and did his job, and I think the reason a lot of people have a beef with this is because you've spent all these years developing kind of your own Star Wars in your head from all the sources that you can take in. And I think no matter what, he wasn't going to please he's lucky he pleased a third of the fans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a really big ask, but I think for Luke, this really is an awesome way to go out.
And it's the most Jedi way possible.
Mm-hmm.
It is just, this is what's going to happen. This is what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Kylo exists, Rey needs to exist.
Yeah, exactly. The Force finds that.
Yeah. And this whole script does a nice job of point counterpoint, right?
Yeah. Well, and I could bring in there's a lot of philosophy and other storytelling that you could bring in
Oh, yes.
pretty easily to talk about if one exists, the other must exist.
Yep. And he gets a great parting line.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know he'll be around if this is what he's up to.
Yeah.
So that's how this works.
Oh yeah.
So just the look on his face, he knows he just got so owned.
Yeah. I give Adam Driver a ton of credit. I also give Mark Hamill a ton of credit for that shot.
Oh, that's so good.
The look on his face as he gives it up is just kiss his fingers.
Ah, chef kiss.
Yes.
Kissing the chef.
The look on both of their faces in that moment sells so much. And, Mark Hamill has gotten a lot of guff over the years for not being a great actor from all sides of the media. And you get a lot of people that say, his voice work is the only thing good. Whatever. He does very well in this film.
Agreed.
Even when he's drinking green milk from a sea cow's tit.
I'll agree to disagree on that one.
He sells it as real, man. I believe
it's
real.
Gross. Oh, it's gross. I'll give you that. It's nasty.
I mean, think about it, though. So is just like...
the whole idea of milking a thing that's not, another species for some kind of nutritional value is just real messed up.
It's gross.
And, it ain't all in my soul patch when I drink it, though.
Well, you gotta have a soul patch for that to happen.
I have kind of a baby one.
Baby soul patch.
Baby soul patch.
We've gone well off the rails here, so I think it is time to call this to a close and remind you to check us out on all of the places where you can find the words Superliminal and films next to one another. Superliminalfilms.com is your one-stop shop for all online media content related to us. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.